villages have greater powers than towns do, and part of, I'm not going to be judgmental, you're going to have to make your own decision, but part of the reason that people oftentimes choose to become incorporated is they have greater control over their own destiny, they have their own zoning ordinance. Right now, the town is under the county zoning ordinance, so you may make your decisions, but they're not permanent and final, because you got to go over to Kenosha County, and they're the ones that make it permanent and final. Villages don't have to do that. They control their own destiny, their own land use plans. The other big one is economic development, and so if you want to encourage a diverse economy, you have some economic tools. The biggest one would be tax incremental financing, which is a system whereby the municipality can put forth some money for sewer, water, roads, what have you, and then that money is paid back to the municipality through the increase in tax values, which occur because of the development. So it's self-sustaining. It's a very, I think it's a very elegant form of economic development. But you do it in accordance to the plan. You want a plan, and both Bristols, well, the town of Bristol had a comprehensive plan. Now both of them are sharing the same plan. Okay.
I thought in the beginning you stated that villages have more power.
Correct.
And I thought you were referring to the annexation. For instance, the village would have more power to stop annexation, but then just a few minutes ago you said that actually that's not true, that the town and the village both can fight it, and
Well, it depends if we're abstract or if we're in Bristol. Yeah, okay, if we're in Bristol, you have agreements that have stopped annexations. Okay, these agreements have been very effective in establishing permanent boundaries, and so that's what I think what I meant by you don't have to do it as a general proposition. Other parts of the state of Wisconsin, only villages and cities can grow, and towns lose. Generally, I mean, you can have some other types of agreements, but annexation is the increase in land for a village or a city. It's a property owner right, is what it boils down to. Property owner and electors. How am I doing? You look confused still.
Well, I mean, because I thought, okay, fine, then we really need to go for this annexation if we're concerned about, Pleasant Prairie coming in and whatever.
I don't,
but now you're saying that.
I don't know. I wouldn't say that in this circumstance that the unification under a village stops Pleasant Prairie. I don't think that's what's going on here. What is going on is the village has more land use control, zoning powers, and economic development powers. But these agreements so far have worked extremely well for the benefit of the citizens of Bristol to, create those permanent borders. And as I say, I compliment Pleasant Prairie for having honored those.
But you also said, at the same time, that even we have those permanent borders, you guys could go back and negotiate and move those permanent borders.
Well, and that's always, to be honest with you, that's always going to be the case. Once you have any kind of a contract, there can be changed circumstances. And I personally, I live in a very far off land called Madison, and that is a nut job place to live. But it used to be a very conservative city, and now it's a very liberal city. And yet there's some very conservative, so things can change over time. And I think we're ill-advised to put our feet in cement and say you can't deal with changed circumstances. And so that's just me talking, though. I mean, maybe people would feel differently. Yes, ma'am.
So basically, voting for the annexation doesn't make it permanent that we cannot ever be taken over by Pleasant Prairie.
Yes, it does. Yeah, what I'm saying is you can't change the borders without consent of both parties. Pleasant Prairie could never unilaterally change the border.
Okay, so they would have to, you guys would have to agree to it.
Yeah, and that's why I'm saying that there are all kinds of...
It gives a little bit more power to the village, which hopefully will act in our interest.
Yeah.
The village line will, Bill, it's confusing what you're saying. The village will define a definite line.
Yes.
The town is a line it can move.
No, but the village could move its line if you and I have two lines, there's a lot line, I could say, well, how about 10 feet here and 5 feet there?
Once you are incorporated to a village, They won't, you're telling me they can negotiate and come across that line?
Well,
Only if the property
Negotiate.
owner wants to go.
no, only if the government agrees to it.
Okay.
The two governments have to agree to it. It's not a property owner right anymore. That, you know, for better or for worse, that train left the station 15 years ago.
Right.
Okay, so I mean, that border is permanent. Whether it's the whether it's a village of Bristol, town of Bristol, that border is, that's not what the advantage would be. The advantage would be speaking with one voice, having zoning controls, economic development controls. That's the primary benefit. And I'm sorry that this gets all confused, and but I can't keep them separate because Pleasant Prairie went to court and, you know, fought us on it.